Hello and welcome to another episode of Double J's List. Today I'm reviewing my rental minivan here on vacation. This is a 2022 Toyota Sienna, and this is the lowest trim level LE, and everything that I can tell, this is the lowest optioned way that you could possibly get a Toyota Sienna. So let's take a quick look at it. All right, so what I find interesting about this is that it has no options yet. What constitutes a base vehicle these days is still pretty well optioned. Take a look, it's got 17-inch wheels with nice big sidewalls, so I prefer that myself. All right, moving on, what base also seems to get, so you've got a wireless, one of these keys that you keep in your pocket, proximity key. However, you have to use the buttons to unlock it and open the doors. So the one on the left opens on the left side, one on the right opens the one on the right side, and then you have to take the key out of your pocket, hit the unlock button if you want to unlock it, and lock it. So there's no walking up to the door handle and pulling it to get in. Unfortunately, you're going to have to hit the unlock manually. I think that's their way of pushing that back. What base also gets you is a steering wheel that's not covered with leather. However, it does have automatic headlights, which I thought was kind of interesting. It also has that switch turns the power door on or off. There's your controls for the trip odometer and dimmer. Nothing really fancy there. You can see the inexpensive steering wheel there. This has to be one of the biggest center consoles and most usable I've ever seen in my life, with so much storage. The whole car is that way. If you take a look here, it has really nice big center console. There's a bottle in there that you can see how deep this thing goes, which is pretty sweet. It's got this really nice little shelf here that you can put your phone on. That plug works the Apple CarPlay. Cloth seats, as it's a base model. So it doesn't have wireless CarPlay like a lot of vehicles have, nor does it have a place to put your phone to charge it. It has to be plugged in manually. As you can see, there is a ton of room in this middle row. I have 2 car seats for my 2- and 4-year-old. What's also kind of interesting about this is one of the few out there that's an 8-passenger minivan. And how they do it is, this middle seat here is actually stashed in the back. And I'll show you where that is in a moment. But you clip this in, you kind of place it in, and it clicks in, and then that's there. If you wanted to get to that 3rd row, there's other ways to do it. Otherwise, you take this out and it creates kind of like a path to the 3rd row, which is really nice. Here's back here, you got another set of charging ports, USB-C and traditional USB. Everything seems to be going USB-C all of a sudden. These seats slide forward and back, as you can see by the track system on the floor. Also cloth. Another thing this is lacking, because it's a base model, is it's not a power lift gate. You have to unlock it yourself and do it. So you have to get the key out of your pocket again, press unlock twice to all the doors, and then you can get into the back. You can see it has the 3rd row stashed. What we've been doing is having my wife sit between the 2 kids. I have my mother-in-law in front. And then these seats go down, which creates an enormous amount of room. Anyone who's familiar with the City Jogger City Select stroller knows this thing is massive. And look how much space is around it. And then here's the other side of it. This is the little storage cubby I was talking about for the 3rd seat for that middle row. It folds up nicely right into that little spot. So if you need it, it's there. Pretty interesting. I think it's actually very nice for what it is, being an absolute base model. Here's the button where you would get your power lift gate, but it's just a blank button. I've actually went to hit it a couple times. We're so used to that now on these big vehicles. All right, so we're going to get behind the wheel, take a quick look, and see how things go from there. Behind the wheel of the Toyota Sienna LE is a 2022 specifically. So, the biggest thing to talk about would be the drivetrain. And what I mean by that is that every Toyota Sienna in 2021, when it was completely redesigned, received the hybrid powertrain, which appears to be a 2.5 liter four-cylinder, and then some sort of battery pack that shares the duty of driving. Now, it's both really good and really bad. And what's really good about it is the fuel economy. The fuel economy in this thing is incredible. I've been driving this all over Central Florida, highway, stop and go, traffic, doing the Disney thing, you name it. And I've been getting right now I'm getting 36.8. At one point I was getting 39 miles per gallon according to the computer. Absolutely incredible. It's rated at 36 city and highway driving by the EPA. So that number seems pretty darn consistent. What's bad about it, though, is that when the gasoline engine comes on, is that it becomes very noisy and shakes the car a little bit. I've noticed myself, I've owned 3 different hybrid vehicles, and this Atkinson engine cycle that hybrids tend to be, tends to produce a 4-cylinder engine that is just kind of noisy and unpleasant. But on the other side of it, it is really efficient. So I'll go ahead and give it the beans here in a second. You're going to hear how loud this thing can get. All right, now here we go. Ready? It's not slow. Given for what it is, I mean, it's a giant minivan that can hold 8 people. But it isn't really something that you want to drive fast or anything like that. The handling, it exists. The ride, it's a little harsh when it's unloaded. You get some people and some stuff in here, and it rides a little bit better, quite a bit better actually. So I wouldn't say it's bad, but considering that when any type of vehicle that you try to have a really high payload, when it's empty, it's going to have to ride harsh in order to ride correctly when it's loaded up. In order to withstand that, that's an engineering problem that just about any vehicle that can carry a load does. So, that being said, I've had the opportunity to drive the current generation of Honda Odyssey. I'll say the drivetrain is much better from like an enthusiast standpoint. The one I drove had the 10-speed Honda automatic, great transmission. And that old V6 that they've had for years and years and years, it's a great engine. The only downside of that one is it's not getting close to 40 miles per gallon like this thing is. I'm guessing you'd be lucky to see 25 in that. So if it were my money, I would probably personally pick the Sienna based on the fuel economy. Because that's a massive difference. It's not a matter of like, oh, the hybrid gets 3 more miles per gallon. Like this gets over 10 more miles per gallon. That's huge, in my opinion. Between that and I just think that this is Toyota quality. If you're looking for even more efficiency, you could go to the Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid. I've known a number of people with Pacificas, and I don't think I know anyone who's had a Pacifica that's been problem-free, quite frankly. So I don't think I would go in that route myself if I were purchasing. I would consider leasing one. That we can give it back when the warranty's up. But that being said, the Sienna is good. Obviously, this has some sort of CVT transmission. Toyota does hybrid systems better than anyone else, in my opinion. This does this thing where you can slide the transmission over into sport, and then it starts faking gears. You can hear the engine came up when I moved it over. I'm going to go tell it to downshift. Okay, now it made it start revving higher. Just like, I guess, like a... Yeah, so it fakes gears when you move that over. I haven't even tried this yet, because it's a minivan. Who cares, right? So I'm going to put it back in D and let it be quiet. One thing I did figure out about the engine noise, when I picked it up, it was just in its normal mode. There's a drive mode button down here by the shifter. When it was in normal mode, it was kind of buzzy and annoying. When I switched it into eco mode, it used the engine less, obviously had less pickup, but it became much more pleasant to drive as far as engine noise is concerned. So the way I would drive it was I would just keep it in eco mode and live with it, being a little bit slower because it's a minivan. Who cares? You're not going fast anywhere. Oh, and one other thing. The Toyota Sienna is the only one that you can get any form of all-wheel drive on. None of the other minivans offer that. This current one, with it being a hybrid, you get Toyota's all-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive, I can't remember what it's called. But instead of having an actual direct connection to the drivetrain in the front, to the rear with some sort of rotating shaft to drive everything, it just has an electric motor by the rear axle that drives them. So when you need power, it just uses the battery power and drives an electric motor and pushes those rear wheels rather than that. This one does not have that feature anyway, but just something to keep in mind. It gives Toyota a huge advantage over its competition. So anyway, like I said, like and subscribe. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.